Are y'all ready for this? All right, today we're doing ACT math test, 60 minutes, 60 problems. In this video, I'm going to go over the first 20 problems, 1 through 20, and I'm going to go step by step, so it'll probably take me more than 20 minutes to explain 20 problems. Now, this is the first ACT test that I'm going to work through, and then we can compare it to the SAT math test that we've done. And I want you to let me know in the comments which one is easier for you, the SAT math test or the ACT math test. Okay, let's dig into this. Number one, Marcus' favorite casserole recipe requires 3 eggs and it makes 6 servings. And he will modify the recipe by using 5 eggs and increasing all the other ingredients proportionally. So we're going to have a proportion here. So what is the total number of servings the modified recipe will make? Well, we know that 3 eggs will make 6 servings. Okay. And so the question is, what if he modifies it to 5 eggs? That will make how many servings? Well, it looks like if you cross multiply, you're going to get 3 times x is 3x, and that's equal to 5 times 6 would be 30, and x would be 30 divided by 3, which is 10. Now, you might notice that if you double this number here, you get 6, so that means that you have to double this number here. So 5 times 2, that would be the easiest way, but we know that some students, they like to cross multiply like this to get the answer. So regardless, the answer for number 1, it has to be C, which is 10, and that was the correct answer. Okay, problem number 2 says the 35-member history club is meeting to choose a student government representative. So we have 35 members in this club. The members decide that the representative who will be chosen at random cannot be one of the 3 officers that are already in the club. What is the probability that Hiroko, who is a member of the club but not an officer, will be chosen? So if you take 3 officers out of the 35, that leaves you 32. And so if they each have an equal chance of getting that, then Hiroko will have 1 out of 32 chance. That'll be the probability. 1 out of 32 is answer K for this one. Okay, problem number 3 says, for what value of x is the equation 2 to the raised to the 2x plus 7 equals 2 to the 15 true? Well, if you have the same base, then the exponents have to be equal to each other. So in this problem, what we're going to say is that 2x plus 7 has to equal to 15. And if you subtract 7 on both sides, we know that 2x has to equal to 15 minus 7, which is 8. And if you divide by 2 on both sides, it looks like x should be 4. So in this case, the answer should be B, x equals 4. Okay, in problem number 4, it says let the function f be defined as f of x is equal to 5x squared minus 7 times 4x plus 3. And this 7 will be multiplied times whatever you get here. So what is the value of f of 3? Evaluate the function when x equals 3. So in this case, all I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, f of 3, I'm going to replace every x with 3. So I'm going to have 5 times 3 squared. That's this part right here. Minus 7 times 4 times 3. 4 times 3 here would be what? 12. So I'm going to have 12 plus 3. This is 15. 12 plus 3 is 15. 15 times 7 is 105. So I'm going to subtract that from 3 squared. Remember, you have to do the order of operations, exponents first. 3 squared is 9, and 9 times 5 is 45. So if I subtract 45 minus 105, I'm going to have negative 60. And you are allowed to use a calculator for this if you need it. I think you can just subtract 100 minus 40 and get 60. It's negative 60. The answer should be J for problem number 4. In problem number 5, a wallet containing 5 $5 bills and 7 $10 bills and 8 $20 bills is found and is returned to its owner. The wallet's owner will reward the finder with 1 bill drawn randomly from the wallet. What is the probability that this bill drawn will be a $20 bill? So, how many $20 bills are there? Well, there's 8 $20 bills. And how many bills total? Well, you're going to have 5 of these $5 bills plus 7 plus 8. So if you add 5 plus 7 plus 8, that's the total. So that's going to be 20. So this is going to be 8 out of 20. And if you reduce that by 4, you're going to get 2 out of 5. And so 2 out of 5 is the probability that you get a $20 bill. So the answer should be D for number 5. Problem number 6 says the ABC Book Club charges $40 monthly fee plus $2 per book. So that's $40 plus $2 for each book that is read. And the Easy Book Club charges $35 a month plus $3 a book read in that month. So for each club, how many books must be read in 1 month for the total charges to be equal? So these will be equal. So the Easy Book Club is $35 a month and $3 per book. So in this problem, all I need to do is solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides. And that's going to give me x here. And that'll cancel the x's on this side. And then I'm going to subtract 35 on both sides. That'll cancel 35 there and subtract 35 there. And so x is equal to 5. And so then the answer should be H. The answer x equals 5 is H. Problem number 7 is a problem from geometry. You have a parallelogram ABCD. So in a parallelogram, the opposite sides are parallel. And here you have AC is a diagonal. And the measure of angle ABC is 40. So this is 40. That means that opposite angles are congruent. So this should also be 40. Okay. And they want to know the measure of angle CAD, which is this angle right here. Well, we already know that these 3 angles, I'm going to call this X, those 3 angles have to add up to 180. So if I had 40 plus 57, let's see, 57 plus 40, that's going to be 97. And so I know that X plus 97 is equal to 180. The total of the 3 interior angles in a triangle is always 180. So then I have to subtract that 97 from 180. And so it looks like you're going to have 83. So that means that this angle right here should be 83 degrees. And that looks like that should be answer D, 83. Now, I want you to let me know in the comments if these problems are easier than SAT. We're working on an ACT math test today. Problem number 8 on ACT math test, x equals 1/2. What is the value of this? So just plug and chug, replace every x with 1/2 here. And so I'm going to have 8 times 1/2 minus 3. And then I'm going to divide by 1/2. So 1/2 of 8 is 4. So that's going to be 4 minus 3. And all that divided by 1/2. So I'm going to have 1 over 1/2. And when you divide by 1/2, you take the reciprocal and then multiply. So 1 divided by 1/2 is actually 2. So the answer here should be 2. Answer is G for number 8. Okay, the next one says, in the standard XY coordinate plane, what is the midpoint of the line segment that has endpoints of 3, 8, and 1, -4? So the midpoint is going to be the average of the x coordinates and average of the y coordinates. So you could have x1 plus x2 divided by 2 And then you would do the same thing for the y coordinates, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3, the x coordinate there, plus 1, and divide by 2. That's going to give us the x coordinate of the midpoint. And 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a peek at the answers, and I notice that there's one answer here that has an x coordinate of 2. Since this is a time test, I would be picking answer D because it's the only one that has a 2 for the x coordinate. Now, since it's not a time test and we're just reviewing, we're going to go ahead and find the y coordinate, which would be 8 plus a negative 4. That's 8 minus 4, and divide that by 2. So you can get 4 divided by 2, and you also get 2. So 2 comma 2, and that was the correct answer. So the correct answer was D for this problem. Okay, problem number 10 says the fluctuation of water at pier is shown in the figure below. One of the following values gives the positive difference in feet. So we want the difference, the positive difference in feet between the greatest water depth and the least water depth shown in this graph. Which value is it? So the maximum is going to be right about here, and that looks like that's about 12. And the minimum is going to be right about here. That looks like that's about 6. So the difference from here to here, from 6 to 12, is actually 6 units. And so the answer should be G, which is 6 units. And that's going to be the answer for number 10. Number 11, what is the slope of the line passing through those 2 points? So we want to find slope, and then if you don't remember, slope is the difference in the y's, y2 minus y1, over difference in the x's, x2 minus x1. And so in this problem, what is the slope? So I'm going to subtract the y's first, negative 5 minus 1, and then I'm going to subtract the x's, negative 2 minus 2. 2 minus a negative 2 is actually 4. 2 minus a negative 2 is actually 4. So I'm going to have a negative 6 over 4, which if you reduce by 2, that's going to be negative 3/2. So for this one, the answer should be D. Okay, so problem number 12. In Cherokee County, the fine for speeding is $17 for each mile per hour that the driver is traveling over the posted speed limit. So the Cherokee County, Kirk was fined $221 for going over the speed limit, which is 30. Kirk was fined for traveling at what speed in miles per hour? So his fine is $221, and of those $221, he's paying $17. So we divide that by 17 for each mile per hour that he's over the limit. So if you divide that out, that means he was 13 miles over the speed limit. Okay? And so now he was going at 30. So we want to know what was his traveling speed when he was clocked. Well, if you add 30 to the 13 that he was over, that's going to give you 43 miles per hour. So in this case, 43 miles per hour was the correct answer. Okay, problem number 13. What is the sum of the solutions of the 2 equations below? Well, for this equation, if we take 12 divided by 8, x would be 12 divided by 8. And if you reduce that by 4, it's going to be 3/2 or 1.5 or 1.5, either way. This one, if we subtract 10 on both sides, you're going to have that 2y is equal to 22 minus 10, which would be 12. That means that y would be 12 divided by 2, which is 6. Now, they want the sum of the 2 solutions. So that means you have to add x plus y. So if we add 6 to the 1.5, you're going to have 7.5 or 7.5 for this problem. So it looks like the answer here should be B, 7.5 for problem number 13. Okay, so problem number 14 says the average of 5 distinct scores has the same value as the median. So the median is the number in the middle, and the average is the same number for 5 scores. The sum of the 5 scores is 420. So what is the sum of the 4 scores that are not the median? So you're going to have 4 scores. You're going to have a score here in the middle, which is the median, and it's also the average. If you take 420 and divide it by 5, that gives you this number right here. I believe that's 84. If you take 420 and divide it by 5, that's 84. That's the median, that's the number in the middle, but it's also the average. So if we do not want to count this number, what is the sum of the other 4 scores? Well, it would be 420 minus your 84. So we're going to have 336. And that looks like that's answer H, 336 for problem number 14. Okay, problem number 15, we have an absolute value expression. What is the value of the expression below? So right here we have absolute value of negative 8 plus 4. That'd be negative 4. Absolute value of that is 4. And right here you have absolute value of 3 minus 9. That's a negative 6. Absolute value of negative 6 is 6. So now I have 4 minus 6, but I want to take the absolute value of that. 4 minus 6 is a negative 2, and the absolute value of negative 2, of course, is 2. So in this case, the answer should be 2, answer D, for this problem. Okay, number 16. Which of the following expressions is equivalent to x raised to the 2/3 power? So we want that in radical form. X to the 2/3 power means x squared, and then take the cube root. So we would have x squared, and then take the cube root of that. That's 2/3. So your denominator is your root, and the numerator is the power. So right here, x squared, numerator, and then cube root, denominator. And that's what we have here. So it looks like the answer should be answer K, cube root of x squared. That is the correct answer for that one. Okay, problem number 17. In the standard xy coordinate plane, what is the slope of the line given by the equation 4x equals 7y plus 5? Well, I want to write it in the form of y is equal to mx plus b. So all I need to do is I need to divide by 7 here, here, and here. And so when I do that, I now have y is equal to 4/7 x. And the slope then is m is going to be equal to 4/7, 4/7. And it looks like that's answer B. Let me know if these problems are easier than the SAT. Please comment in the comment. If you like these type of videos, hit the like button right now. Problem number 18. For which of the following conditions will the sum of integers m and n always be an odd integer? So we need to get an odd integer. If m is an odd integer, will you always get an odd integer? Depends what n is. What if n is an odd integer? Depends what m is. So these two are not good answers, because if m is odd and the other number is even, or if n is odd and the other number is even, you would get odd. But what if they're both odd? What if m and n are both odd? 1 plus 3 gives you an even. So how do you get odds? Well, you would have to add an odd plus an even, or you would have to add an even plus an odd. But if you add odd plus odd, you get even. Or if you add even plus even, you get even. And so it can't be F and G. What if they're both odd? Well, we'll just say if they're both odd, you're going to get an even. So that's not going to work. What if they're both even? Well, if they're both even, we just said that they're going to be even, so that's not going to work. So it has to be K. One is odd, and the other one's even, and when you add an odd and an even, you'll always get an odd integer. So the answer here has to be K. So number 19, we have a right triangle. Two legs are given. Triangle ABC is shown. One leg is 24, the other one is 32. And it says the midpoint of the hypotenuse AB is how many inches from A. So we're going to take the midpoint right here. We want to find this distance right here, which if it's the midpoint, it would be the same distance to B either way. And so if this is x, this would be x, so the hypotenuse is 2x. And so how do you find the hypotenuse? Well, you can do a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, or if you want the easy way, I can tell you that if I reduce this by 8, this is actually 8 times 3, and if I reduce this by 8, this is actually 8 times 4. So what I have here is I have a 3, 4, 5, so then this hypotenuse is going to be 5 times 8, which is 40. And if I divide by 2, 40 divided by 2 is going to be 20. So that means that this is 20 here, and this is 20 there. And so the distance from the midpoint to point A is 20. 40 is the whole entire hypotenuse. So if you picked 40, you were solving for the hypotenuse, and you didn't read that they're looking for the midpoint. That's problem number 19. We've got one more in this section. Okay, problem number 20. There's 60 problems in the ACT math test, but I'm going to break it into 20 at a time. So the first section will be 20, then 20, and the last 20. So problem number 20 says, in triangle DEF, so I'm going to draw a little triangle here, and I'm going to just call this triangle DEF. And it says DE is the square root of 30, and the length of EF is 3 inches. If it can be determined, what is the length of DF? So what is DF? Well, if this was a right triangle, then we could use Pythagorean theorem like we just did, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. However, this is not a right triangle, and so we would need more information. So based on the given information, this cannot be determined. We could determine a range for x, because we know that x has to be less than the sum of those two, square root of 30 plus 3, using the triangle inequality theorem. But also x should be more than the difference of those, square root of 30 minus 3. So whenever you need a range, you can always do sum and difference, and this missing side df has to be more than the difference but less than the sum, and that's triangle inequality theorem. But in this case, we don't know exactly what x is going to be, so the answer is K for number 20. Okay, that's problem number 20. At this point, we're going to stop the video right here, and 1 through 20 will be part 1. Then coming up next will be part 2 for the same test, and then part 3. Now, if you like videos like this, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you hit the bell so you get notifications on getting more videos like this, quality videos. Thank you very much for watching. Keep watching and keep learning. Thanks.